All right, sounds good.
All right, I started the recording just because it seemed like it was a good conversation. Does anyone have opens for the day?
I see it's being taken care of, but I saw that there was a conversation about some of the CI gates on like Edk2-Basetools, and I imagine some of them exist on the equivalent ones exist on the PyTools repos as well. And I think for those that are not directly involved in tool development every day, but they come up with a PR, I think they're finding it challenging to work with that because of the strictness of some of the CI gates there. I didn't know if you had any ideas on how to take good code changes from others and maybe help move them through as opposed to putting 100% of the responsibility on the contributor.
Yeah, I mean, Christine or I guess Bob isn't on, but I think there is a number of pull requests in there, and I think it's I think in the past we talked about it being on Bob to kind of help get those through. It looks like, Arj changes in there, which is an important one that fixes a problem. I know he's the one who complained about the code coverage blocking him, but I think really all that's happening is that, if it's Christina or if it's Bob, somebody needs to kind of shepherd that through. The reason why the code coverage went down is there's new code introduced, but there's absolutely no tests. But there's no tests, for most of it. So I don't think that's a gating factor. It's just a indicator on the pull request.
Okay, yeah, verifying that wouldn't actually block it from being accepted would be good. But I do recognize that if we're asking the maintainers to do more than just kind of do the review and process kind of checks, as opposed to actually doing some additional work to get the PR into perfect shape, that's an additional ask on the maintainer. So I want to make sure that we're getting that the maintainers want to take on that additional responsibility. So Christine, I noticed that Bob's not been able to attend this meeting in a little while. Is he involved that much in the base tools, or do we need to find other coverage for the base tools as well?
I think Bob cannot involve much more on the base tools because he is very busy now.
Okay.
So maybe I need to take more time on the base tools before my work.
All right, and if you can find maybe seek somebody else to help you as a backup, I think that would be useful as well for base tools.
Okay, I will find the person to help us. Maybe our team have Yuting, who is the new member of the base tools, but I think she did not have many experience. So maybe I need to find others and involve her also to on the base tools work.
That sounds good. Maybe you can come back in a week or two with some status on that to see if we can improve some things.
Okay.
But I think there's a number of PRs there that are probably ready to merge. And I think the way that we have done that is the maintainers are responsible for merging the PRs. So once the PR looks good enough to merge, that's the process traditionally.
I think that's the process for everybody, right? Like it's in the community guideline or whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think here though, code review is potentially being done through the PR process. It's a little bit different, but I don't think anyone's giving code review comments for the most part either. So they're just kind of sitting out there right now. All right, any other opens?
I have one other, and it's related to the Python tools in general, because I've been working with some of the options of how to package things up, just kind of learning some new ones. And I know that there's traditionally been a setup.py file, or now a like a pyproject.toml file is like the latest instantiation of that. And one of the nice things about those description files is it makes it so your component's installable through pip, but you can also specify command names that you want mapped to running a Python method in one of your Python modules, which effectively then shows up as an executable in your Python scripts directory on Windows, or as executable in your equivalent area under Linux. What I've noticed is that, inside of the Edk2 repo, we have all those wrappers, pip wrappers of various kinds for being able to map a Python script into a batch file to a Python script or a shell script kind of thing. I'm wondering, should we, transition all that content over to use proper pip methodologies for installing and running those, instead of having all those wrappers hanging around?
I think that would work. I'm trying to remember if there was a reason we didn't do that when we were prototyping out this. Yeah, I assume that would work. Seems like a more appropriate way to go.
I think it gets rid of a bunch of files too out of our base tools. Well, at least on the, I know we have a goal to reduce, move the Python code from the base tool side, but I can remove some of the other, I think, Python support code from base tools as well.
I don't think it can be done though until you're ready to basically remove the files out of the base tools.
Okay. Yeah, I know it's also possible to do a pip install in an editable mode for like the local base tools, so it looks exactly like a pip, and it installs the commands and allows you to actually do local changes and see them run, if that's the style of developments one of the developers is wanting to do with the base tools inside of EDK2.
I'm not sure you could actually install the base tools that are inside EDK2. Right, they don't have a setup py or a project file.
We'd have to add one. I understand.
Yeah.
To get rid of all those wrappers, we'd have to add one, and then if you add one, then you can basically say I can do development there. I know our goal is to get rid of all the Python code out of the EDK2 base tools and have everybody do a pip install from the base tools project and the base tools repo. But just trying to think of some additional cleanups that may not take much energy to get things in a much better state.
I mean, I think if you did that, you could turn if you really wanted to still carry files in the tree, you could turn the base tools into a submodule that you consume the base tools, because it's going to be the same content at that point.
Oh, that's a good idea.
But I'm not sure what you gain by using submodules rather than pip installing or requesting that the user go down, download the repo themselves and pip install it.
Yep, I agree. So, okay, but as far as all those wrappers there in general, we do use some of those wrappers when things are installed through pip. That's what gets confusing to me, is why we still have wrappers there.
Yeah. We definitely could. Yeah, that'd be a good thing to explore. I think that would work fine. I can create an issue for that and put it in the list. I mean, I think we got to figure out what the minimal stuff is to be able to move everything over to the base tools. But I think hopefully, Christine, if you can find a second person, I think we just need that project to start kind of moving forward, and integrating changes a little faster and trying to get quality up so that we can switch over to use that.
Okay.
I mean, I know there's some tests that were added that are in PR waiting to get added, so that we build EDK2 as part of the base tools so that we know whether we broke EDK2. So those kind of things have proven useful and would give us more confidence around making changes in a separate project. All right, other topics?
I have a couple of base tools changes. So one is to allow building with Clang in a more standard way. So it modifies, there's a Python script, it modifies the DSC build workspace or something, and there are a whole pile of makefiles changes as well. So it allows you to run make cc equals Clang, cxx equals Clang++. So I think that'd be a good change. And I also noticed that the C tools, the C code has not had uncrustify run on it. So if you make any changes, it fails CI.
So Michael, on the uncrustify of the base tool sources, I think there's C sources. I think there's two types of C sources in there. Some of them are from projects we imported into EDK2 base tools that we probably don't want to run uncrustify through so that we can kind of compare for changes versus those that have been implemented as part of the EDK2 work.
Yes, that's correct.
So I guess as far as there is an uncrustify is going over base tools right now, as far as the CI check.
Yes.
That doesn't sound right, does it?
I'd expect it to be in audit mode. Is that true? Do you know?
It's causing CI to fail. So okay, so the files I was modifying was in the source C common, because they're a bit of a mess really. The comments are like function documentation is between the parameter list and the function body. So I've got a patch series out to move that up to the top above the function and convert it from like a custom format into Doxygen.
We don't have a YAML file in base tools, I don't think, Michael.
Yeah, I was just looking for that and don't see one there.
So I guess I should add one to do the skip action for base tools, right?
Yes. So I guess this is the first time we've changed that code in base tools since uncrustify was added.
It is odd. I see some changes 20 days ago.
Sorry, I'm not sure if it's actually uncrustify. It might actually be the ECC tool that's running. The failures I saw was complaining about trailing white space, so that's probably actually more like the ECC tool than uncrustify.
Perhaps.
So we do have a CI YAML file for base tools in Project Mu. I can put a link here if we want to pull something like that over. And that does have uncrustify set to audit only.
I should have a link for my pull request actually, where you can see the errors. Let's see, filters, my pull requests, base tools C fixes. Okay, here we go.
Great.
I mean, the changes look good. It seems like we should try to figure out why these were missed, if that was intentional or not. But overall, it seems like the changes are good and something we should take in anyways.
Well, one was like a chocolatey failure. Is that like a known thing?
I've seen chocolatey timeout on some things, right? Just random, depending on what the failure's on. There's a patch check failure too.
Yeah. It's about this. I saw that. I do think we should add a base tools CI YAML file though.
Yeah, the patch check is what got the trailing white space. So that's
Oh,
not
okay.
uncrustify or ECC. That's patch check not liking the trailing white space on some of the C files that were modified.
Right. Sorry, I thought patch check maybe ran uncrustify as part of it, but okay. So yeah, I couldn't actually find. I don't think I introduced the trailing white space. But
No,
I'm
you
going
did
to have a
not.
look. Oh, okay.
That is an annoying problem, that the basics of trailing white space and the last line being a carriage return, without, not a beetle
Yeah.
line, not a carriage return. Patch check by itself will complain about those on all source files.
Oh, okay.
And so this is actually related to your editor settings, because your editor settings would have fixed those files had they been modified.
Yeah, but I know I've submitted patches in the past and they had those kind of fixes, and I thought, nope, you have to go and revert them all, and so that included like modifying editor settings to kind of make sure it didn't try and fix it, and I had to make another separate commit that fixed all the files to have the
Right.
ending new line. So yeah, it got a bit of a hassle. Okay, so it sounds like the change I submitted, the one patch to run uncrustify over the files in source C common possibly isn't wanted then. So I can drop that from my series.
Okay.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, so the way uncrustify gets run, and this may have been why it wasn't added, is it gets run through the Stewart CI build command. And we typically run that against the list of packages in that prgate build job.yaml file. There's a matrix there that gets generated. I don't see base tools in that matrix. It's like actual packages.
Okay.
So I was just wondering, like, where do we in the YAML files do we build base tools? I'm assuming it's in a different one. Oh, base tools build steps.yaml. I assume that's the one.
You're talking about where do we actually compile the base tools?
Yeah, like if Rebecca's making a change in base tools, where does that base tools change get compiled in CI?
Every CI run has to compile the base tools, right?
From base
there's a
tools build
step.
steps?
There's a build step pretty early that is EDK2 base tools build or something. It's a Python file.
I presume it uses the Python script that's right under base tools. I don't remember what it's called. Edk2 build base tools or something.
Okay, I see it. So it calls it is the base tools build steps.yaml. So it calls that as a template, and then that calls the Python script. So in that case, uncrustify won't get run because it's not going through the Stewart CI command. So I think we're okay there.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, it is just patch check that was failing then in that way.
Okay, well, it was good to go through that flow anyways, just to see why we didn't have the CI YAML file there, but I guess that's why.
I think we still run most of we don't do the compile step, but we do all the other code quality checks that apply to the base tools. So it still could be useful. And if you want to do the uncrustify and take those fixes, like I don't see any harm.
Where does the CI plugin in this case? Is it inside that Python script or something?
I mean, so Stewart CI build, right? We'll run all of the CI build plugins, and those are the ones that are going to do uncrustify, as well as like the GUID checks and all those other things.
But it's not doing that against base tools, right? It's doing that against other packages.
It could, though. It could do some of those against base. Not all of them apply.
Okay. You're saying to add that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was the part. Okay, yeah, I agree. Adding it to run those CI plugins would be a good thing to do. In that case, we'd add the CI YAML file. I think maybe we could note that down as like a nice to have improvement.
Okay.
Although I think most of those plugins would have an insane number of issues that result if we did that. So. If we're going to turn them on and just put them on audit mode, I don't see a point. So someone would have to be dedicated or motivated to actually fix all the problems.
Yeah, that's fair.
And talking about coding style, I noticed the Python scripts don't seem to follow the PEP8 coding style. For example, the format of the comments is kind of more C-like than Python-esque. Is that something we might want to fix at some point?
What files?
The files under, I think it's in the workspace, so a whole pile of Python scripts there.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about like what do we do with the random Python scripts that are like scattered throughout, and how do we have a cohesive like CI test for them? I think at the moment we don't, as you called out. I think we treat those as kind of hacky scripts, so that's it.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the random scripts. They're under source Python workspace. They're pretty much core scripts.
All right. Yeah, so this is about following the PEP standard for PyDocs, right?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's was not done in the beginning. There's been no effort to update them to follow the PyDocs standard. I think it's a good goal for the base tools, Edk2-Basetools repository to capture those as issues to follow the PEP8 standards, and for PyDocs and for unit testing, it's just resources to do the work. I think is the big question mark.
Okay, and yeah, fixing spacing as well. There are some that have extra lines, some have too few lines between functions and classes and stuff. So yeah, just some tidy up stuff. So yeah, I might get around to that, or if someone else can, then yeah, that'd be good to fix up.
Right. I mean, the running PyLint, I forget which is the right tool, but there's a tool that can do just the basic formatting piece, and that's relatively straightforward. Actually, changing the comment style to PyDocs is a little more effort, manual effort.
Yep.
All right. What other topics do people have?
I have not looked in the last few days. How's the health of the CI in general as we're approaching the stable tag release?
I haven't looked, but I haven't heard anything. I can look right now, but yeah. I see green check marks, so that's good.
Yep. And
Yeah.
they merged 4 and 5 days ago. Yeah, okay. All right. Does anybody have any critical bug fixes they think need to go into the stable tag, either tool related or non-tool related?
I mean, I'd love to get the Clang support in because that's been a big problem for me over the last couple of years. But I guess, yeah, there's no huge rush now.
Okay. Yeah, I think the release is scheduled for this Friday, for March 3rd. If there's no blocking issues found between now and then. So that your Clang change could go in early next week, I think, Rebecca.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Is there any updates on Edk2 Platforms? Nate, I think you're probably the only one here from that work effort.
Not that I am aware of.
What's the current plan over there?
I don't know. We'll have to continue discussion, right?
Yeah, I think I can try to follow up offline this week and make sure there's either representation or bring status next week. I think on the Isaac Oram was going to evaluate some of the platforms that are there now to see if there's ones that can be retired because they're not being maintained. And I think Leif, one of the stewards and maintainers of Edk2 Platforms, was going to do an equivalent assessment of the ARM related platforms. So let's see if we can't get status on both those fronts by this meeting next week and review those. How are we doing on the feature packages side?
Besides the ext4, I have not seen any contributions.
Okay.
Isaac was looking at one of them, I think, but I haven't seen anything more.
All right. Yeah, because I think he had like a patch series that was attempting to bring a number of the feature packages online, right?
Yep.
Okay. So we'll see if we can get status from Isaac as well on that piece.
I thought Isaac had like a big IPMI change, or maybe I'll need to look through it again. But I thought I saw something like that.
Yeah, that was happening too.
Yeah.
I don't think that was CI related, but yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just thinking feature packages in general.
I gotcha. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Any other topics?
So ext4 is active now on CI. Is that what you're saying?
ext4 has been fixed up to pass all the CI. The CI is only running on my branch in my fork. And my plan very soon is to get the GitHub action file ready, and then we can talk about bringing that into Edk2 Platforms. But again, if you recall, our concerns were, if you don't have a contribution process that invokes the CI, it's hard to keep that going.
Okay. All right.
Well, if there's no other topics, we can break for next week.
Sorry, one thing, the Shellbin PKG, I don't think it's had a release in the last 2 or 3 years. It'd be nice to get that started again, I think.
Did you put that on the list for limbing for the release process?
Sorry, me?
Yeah, did anybody put a request into our release owner to coordinate whatever's needed for the release to publish a binary of the shell?
I think there are a couple of tickets in Bugzilla.
Okay.
I've got a random last minute open that's unrelated. That hopefully that'd be okay.
Go for it.
So I did a fun little weekend project this last weekend and got the emulator package working on Raspberry Pi. I'll be sending that patch series out here pretty soon.
Hopefully it wasn't actually too many changes, right?
There's a surprising amount of assembly code in emulator package, but it was interesting learning. I mean, I think it's the first time I've done ARM assembly. I've done plenty of x86. So it was a learning experience for me.
Do we need that much assembly in the emulator package?
I cut down on it for the ARM version because there are some things that probably, well, in the x86 world, it might be necessary, but there's definitely, I needed less for ARM, but there's still some. Like, it's definitely non-zero.
Emulator runs on top of an operating system, right?
Correct. Yeah, I
it-
only did it for Raspberry Pi OS.
I
Well,
see.
that's what I tested on anyway.
Cool. All right, anybody else? All right, thanks everyone.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, bye.